I am N.S. Venkatraman. I am speaking on behalf of Nandini Consultancy Center, which is a firm of chemical engineers and chemical business consultants based at Chennai and Singapore. India presently imports around 220 million tons of crude oil per year. India also imports around 32 billion cubic meters of natural gas per year. As against this, Indian production of crude oil is only around 30 million tons per annum, and that of natural gas is only around 32 billion cubic meters per annum. At the same time, Indian demand for crude oil and natural gas are steadily increasing at 6 to 7% per annum. In view of this fact, it is likely that the Indian import of crude oil and natural gas will reach very high level by the year 2030, particularly since Indian production of crude oil and natural gas are likely to remain at stagnant level. In this condition, whereas at present, 27% of the Indian foreign exchange earnings are being used for the import of crude oil, by 2030, the percentage of foreign exchange that is to be used for the import of crude oil and natural gas will reach an unsustainable level. Under this circumstance, it is vitally important that the consumption of crude oil and natural gas in India should be reduced to the maximum level possible. Government of India is aware of this and has taken a number of steps to reduce Indian consumption of crude oil and natural gas, and consequently, Indian import dependence of crude oil and natural gas. The steps taken by the government of India include promotion of renewable energy projects like solar and wind power, promotion of electric vehicles, active support to the development of hydrogen economy, and further to blend ethanol, which is also known as ethyl alcohol, with petrol. Now, what is the achievement that we have made so far in blending ethanol with petrol? Out of all these present strategies developed by the government of India to reduce the import dependence on crude oil and natural gas, ethanol blending with petrol is one of the very, very important strategies. When Prime Minister Modi took over in the year 2014, India was blending ethanol with petrol to the level of 1.5%. Now, in a period of around 8 years, due to the Herculean efforts put forward by the government of India, the ethanol blending with petrol has reached as high as 10% so far. This is a very, very creditable achievement for which the government of India should be complimented. Now, the government of India fixed further target of increasing the blending of ethanol with petrol from the present level of 10% to 20% by the year 2025. Again, this is a very tall target and Herculean task to achieve this. Now, what is the state of ethanol production in India today? As of today, India's production of ethanol is much less than the requirement for the proposed blending of ethanol with petrol. In the year by December 2022, it is likely that India will be producing around 950 crore liters of ethanol. To have 20% ethanol blending with petrol by the year 2025, the requirement of ethanol would be 1,500 crore liters, 1,500 crore liters. As against this, the present production or the production by the end December 2022 will be only around 950 crore liters. In other words, another 550 crore liters of ethanol has to be produced in India to meet the Indian requirement of ethanol for 20% blending with petrol and for other purposes by the year 2025. Pushing the production of ethanol by 550 crore liters in a period of 2 to 3 years is not an easy task at all. Now, in a desperate bid to increase the production of ethanol, Government of India has permitted different feedstock to be used for the production of ethanol. it is permitting C-grade molasses, B-grade molasses, sugar, sugar syrup, sugarcane juice, grains like maize, rice, and so on. Now, Government of India is permitting all this to be done so that the maximum level of feedstock may be made available for the production of ethanol. Now, is it the right strategy? That is what we need to think about it. Now, if you take the sugar industry scenario in India today, this year it has been a bumper year for the sugar industry. This year, we are producing around 35.5 million ton of sugar, which is a very high figure, a very comfortable figure. As against this, the quantity of the sugar allotted for the ethanol production is around 3.5 million ton. In other words, with the production of the sugar being what it is at 35.5 million ton per annum, with the sugar being allotted for the production of ethanol at 3.5 million ton per annum, the surplus sugar in the country will be 8 million ton per year. It's a very comfortable sugar scenario. And the sugar is sought to be exported to the international market, particularly in today's condition where international price of sugar is very high. Sugar is being exported in good quantity right now. At the same time, we should remember the sugar cane is a very water-intensive crop. Out of the total water resources in India, 85% of the water is used for the agricultural purposes. 85% is used for agricultural purposes. Of these 85% for use for agricultural purposes, the water requirement for sugarcane crop is substantial quantity. For example, for 1 ton of sugarcane crop, the requirement of water is as high as 70 to 80 ton. So 1 ton of sugarcane crop, equivalent of water is 70 to 80 ton. In states like Maharashtra, 71% of the irrigation water that is available is being used for the sugarcane crop. Now, do we have so much of water available in the country? Let us see what is the water scenario. Indian water resources, including the irrigation water, rainwater, as well as the groundwater, is estimated to be around 1123 billion cubic meter, 1123 billion cubic meter. As against this resource of 1123 billion cubic meter, the requirement of water in the country by the year 2025 is likely to be around 1093 billion cubic meter, 1093 billion cubic meter. Considering the availability and the demand for water by 2025, it is going to be a touch and go situation. Again, what is alarming is where the water resources of the country at 1123 billion cubic meter is likely to remain the same. With the increase of population, with the increase of other activities, the likely requirement of water by the year 2050 is estimated to be around 1447 billion cubic meter, 1447 billion cubic meter. Now compare the water resources as 1123 billion cubic meter and the demand for water by 2050 at 1447 billion cubic meter. The demand is much more than the resources available. India is likely to become a highly water-stressed country with consequent economic and social problems. This problem has to be solved out. How can we solve this problem? One way of sorting out this problem is reduce the consumption of the water to the maximum extent possible. And there are so many other steps like reducing the population and all this. But the real impact will come by reducing the consumption of the water. How to reduce the consumption of the water? One way of reducing the consumption of water is discourage the further extension of the sugarcane crop to reduce the area of sugarcane crop cultivated in the country so that the water requirement or water used by sugarcane crop will significantly come down. But will it happen? Is it practically possible? Will the sugar lobby permit this? This is $1 million question. I don't know whether India will be able to curtail the production of sugarcane crop or sugar in the coming years, even considering the water-intensive nature of the sugarcane crop. Then, what is the next strategy possible? Now, what the government of India has done now is to permit maize for the production of ethanol. This decision of the government of India has been called as counterproductive and has been criticized by several people. See, maize is a food crop. And not only is it a food crop, maize is the starting material for the production of starch. Again, Starch is the starting material for the production of several starch-based products like L-lysine, citric acid, and so on. Several starch-based products like L-lysine, citric acid are not presently produced in India. India is importing around 1 lakh ton of citric acid per year. India is importing around 65 to 70,000 tons of L-lysine per year, and the demand is steadily going up. So there is a very, very urgent need to build capacities for starch-based products in India. For creating capacity for starch-based derivative products, we need more starch. If we need more starch, then we need more maize, which is the starting material production of starch. Then in these circumstances, allotting starch for the production of ethanol is certainly a counterproductive decision. This will be at the cost of the production of the starch-based products, which is not advisable at all, because the starch-based products have very high level of relevance to the Indian industrial and economic growth pattern. Now, I am saying don't expand the sugarcane crop. I am saying don't use maize for the production of ethanol. Then what is the alternative? There is an elegant alternative, that is the sugar beet crop. See, compare the sugar beet crop with that of the sugarcane crop. There are plenty of advantages. For example, the water requirement for the cultivation of sugar beet crop is only 1/3 of the water requirement for the cultivation of sugarcane crop. So you find the water requirement much less. Then the harvest time for the sugar beet crop is only 5 months, as against 9 months for sugarcane crop. In other words, whereas we take one crop, in the case of sugarcane crop, in the case of beet crop, we can take two harvests every year. It's a very, very big advantage. Then what about the alcohol production? In the case of this sugarcane crop, the total production of alcohol will be around 5,000 liters, 4,500 to 5,000 liters per hectare. As against this, the alcohol production from sugar beet crop would be as high as 7,000 to 7,500 liters per hectare. Look at the advantages. Sugar beet crop requires much less water, much less harvesting time, and yield alcohol much more than what the sugarcane crop. It's a win-win situation. What is required right now is the government of India has to promote sugar beet crop in a big way and ensure that sugar beet crop is built in a big way, converted for the production of ethanol. The technology for converting beet sugar into alcohol is very well established. See, this sugar beet crop is a dry matter. It has got a high sugar content. Therefore, the fermentation time for the production of alcohol from sugar beet would be much, much less and much, much faster. That's a very big advantage. And technology parameters are very well known. Internationally, 41 countries produce sugar beet crop today. And total sugar production in the world, 30% of sugar production is done by sugar beet crop, and only 70% is done by sugarcane crop. So these are elegant situation practiced in several countries in the world, including Russia, Ukraine, France, England, Germany, USA, and so on. I'm not suggesting anything new. And another advantage here is the sugar beet crop can be grown in salty soil, hot and black soil, or it can be grown even clayey soil, where other crops cannot be grown. So this is, I think, a very elegantly accepted situation. So cultivating the sugar beet crop is unlikely to compete with other food crops for its land requirements. Then what is waiting? Why not we exploit this opportunity? Also, now there is an urgent need to reduce the import dependence of crude oil and natural gas. To do this effectively, we need to necessarily increase the blending ratio of ethanol with petrol to 20% by 2025, for which the production of ethanol has been stepped up by the end of 2022 to the 2025 by 550 crore liters. Then massive cultivation of the sugar beet crop in the country, using the entire sugar beet crop for subjecting it to fermentation for the production of ethanol is an elegant, acceptable, and immediate solution. If earnest efforts will be put forth, with strong support from the government of India, possibly in a period of 7 months to 1 year, there can be large amount of sugar beet crop can be grown in the country. and ethanol production can be stepped up. Now, what is the research efforts? Unfortunately, what I'm talking about the sugar beet crop is not anything unknown. We have been talking about it in India from the year 1950 onwards. In 1960, Indian Institute of Sugarcane Research started working on this very earnestly. Several areas were chosen, sugar beet crop were cultivated, and ethanol was produced out of this, and parameters were largely set up, fixed to the level of satisfactory level. Then nothing happened. Then in 1970, All India Coordinated Research Project was launched to promote sugar beet crop. Again, a lot of work was done, trials were done in several states, including Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, Tamil Nadu, Punjab, Rajasthan, West Bengal, and so on. The practices were done, trials were done, results were reasonably satisfactory. Then nothing has gone beyond that. A few sugar units and agri research institutions, sugar research institutions have involved themselves in promoting the sugar beet crop in 1960s and 1970s and so on. But nothing has worked. Why? It all appears from the hindsight, the efforts have been half-hearted. Government of India's backing has not been provided. Enough incentives have not been provided for promoting sugar beet crop at the government of India level, like what is being done today. So here what we have found is, we find a situation, experiments were done, parameters were established, the feasibility was established, but nothing was done beyond that. It has become very costly exercise today. Probably at that time, nobody thought of pushing ethanol to such a level by blending with petrol as it is being done by the Modi government today. That could be one of the lame excuses that can be advanced. Still, the fact is, it was a very half-hearted measure to promote sugar beet crop, which should not be permitted anymore, which will become counterproductive, which will not be interest of the country. Now, what is required? Now, what is required is, there is a need for urgent policy initiative, a proactive policy initiative by the government of India. Now, government of India is actively promoting electric vehicles, renewable energy projects, hydrogen economy and all this. Apply the same level of enthusiasm, apply the same level of speed and dynamism and proactiveness to promote sugar beet crop in the country. Encourage sugar units to do so. And here, let it not be left to the government of India alone for this, and let sugar units and research bodies think that government of India will take care. Government of India will not take care, cannot take care, unless there is a cooperation from the stakeholders like the sugar industry and the agriculture research bodies and the entrepreneurs in the country. What we need to do here is, a few sugar units should put their heads together, invest money together, form a new company, promote sugar beet crop in a big way, and let it go together for the production of ethanol. Then it will be a win-win situation for all of them. Unfortunately, internationally, there are several companies who cooperate between themselves, even when they are involved in the same field, for the production of common interest, for the promotion of common interest by setting up the new units. It has been seen repeatedly all over the world, but it is not happening in India. I don't know what is the reason. I do not want to go deep into this. But the fact is, sugar unit, a few of them should join together, like sugar units in Tamil Nadu, sugar units in Punjab, sugar in Maharashtra, UP and all this, form a joint venture company with a term target of promoting sugar beet crop and ethanol out of it. If these countries cooperate, if these companies cooperate, and if the government of India's proactive initiative, and like what is the PLI scheme that are that we are promoting now, like production linked scheme, which should be given for the sugar beet crop also, then we will find a new situation, a new dynamic situation. By 2025, we may have enough ethanol in the country for 20% blending, which will relieve India substantially from the import dependence of crude oil and natural gas. I strongly submit to the government of India, the sugar units in the country, the agriculture research bodies, and all the stakeholders to pay maximum attention to this sugar beet crop industry, promote it, produce ethanol, and meet the requirement of the nation. Thank you very much.